May, it's been a month or over a month since the Russian invasion started in Ukraine. Now, the latest that is happening is that Russia could potentially be trying to split Ukraine into two separate nations. Hal Kempfer is a retired Marine Corps intelligence officer with roots here in the Valley, and joining us to give us his insight as what is happening now with this Russian invasion. Good morning, Hal. As always, it's great to see you in the mornings.
Good morning, Melanie. Great to be here.
So my first question is, starting with today's reports coming in that Russian forces have made no significant progress in the last 24 hours, citing they're having problems with supply and resistance from Ukrainian fighters. But now it seems these troops are shifting to the east. What does this move suggest they're trying to do potentially?
Well, Melanie, they're completely stalled. They were doing some offensive actions, or at least doing a lot of artillery and rockets as of today, but it doesn't look like they've done any serious moving. What they announced they were going to do earlier this week was they were going to consolidate on the Donbas region gains, if you will. They said their goal was to ensure the liberation of those areas. So there's a pullback, but there's another reason too, is they're trying to trap Ukrainian forces in that eastern area. Most experts believe that's not going to work, that the Ukrainian resistance is too strong. So there's a little bit of a tactical piece. There's also a strategic piece in why they're moving forces to the east.
And that's when it comes in with when we were talking about how they're trying to split the country into two, right? That's what they're trying to do.
Well, that seems to be the fallback position. That certainly was not what Putin announced when he went into Ukraine. The fallback position that was announced a few days ago was that, no, our intent all along, this is the Russian speaking, was to liberate the Donbas region, was to secure those areas. It seems to be giving a little bit of an off-ramp for Putin should he start to disengage his forces. But his actions around Kyiv and other locations were completely the opposite of what he says. So right now, no one's quite sure if that wasn't a deceptive move, or if that was a change in their strategic outlook, if you will, what they're trying to accomplish. It's a little uncertain on the ground.
Right. Now, Ukraine could declare neutrality and accept a compromise on contested areas in the east. Do you believe this is a sensible move by the country's President Vladimir Zelensky in trying to secure that peace with Russia finally?
I think President Zelensky is trying to do anything to stop the fighting and to get to the negotiating table. And he's made that very clear. He said, look, I will forsake joining NATO, which means that they will essentially be neutral. He's throwing a lot of different things out there to try and do this. But he has been very firm. Russian forces must pull out of Ukraine. And in that, he's never made an exception for Crimea. He's never made an exception for Donbas. So when he says pull out of Ukraine, he means pull out of the whole country. And right now, they're at a bit of an impasse. Not quite sure how they're going to get there. The foundation for talks are there, but there's still a big gap between the two sides.
And NATO says between 7,000 to 15,000 Russian troops have been killed. I mean, this number has to be alarming for Putin. Has he put out any comments about the massive loss that he's encountered with his troops?
Well, the only thing he's put out is to basically decrease that to about 10% of what it is. The Russians have been very deceptive. Well, they've just been lying about the losses. It's probably somewhere around closer to the 15. I think Ukraine has it closer to 17. What's significant is 15,000 is the amount of troops that were Soviet troops or Russian troops, Soviet troops that were lost in Afghanistan during that entire decade the Russians were in there. And that's associated with the fall of the Soviet Union. So for Putin, 15,000 should be a big number. And of course, once that's truly felt in Russian society, it could cause some big changes, just like it did in the late 80s and early 90s.
And real quickly, you know, President Biden's recent comments made against Putin, saying that he cannot remain in power, sparking a lot of criticism, a lot of worry. Do you believe that his words could potentially put us in a dangerous position with Russia?
Well, you know, they're walking it back. I will say this. When I heard it, I didn't think that was an off-the-cuff remark. That sounded like something that would have been said. And I think that's a way of delivering that message and then saying, oh, I didn't mean to say that. That's often done in diplomatic speech, which is you throw something out there which reflects your true views, and then you say, oh, no, that's not our official position. Certainly the Europeans and others felt it was provocative. On the other hand, I think at this point, a little provocation like that might be what's needed to kind of get Putin moving in terms of recognizing his actual situation. So, yes, technically a little provocative. On the other hand, maybe kind of what's needed to get things moving and to bring a little reality check to Putin.
Right, absolutely. Hal Kempfer, our military expert, joining us to talk about the war in Ukraine and the latest updates. Thank you as always, sir. Great to see you.
Thank you, Melanie.